Hey guys, it's Nick from This here. Now that Khaos Reigns has been out for about a week, I wanted to discuss the story expansion, the good and the bad. If you haven't finished the DLC yet, click off, as I will be going over everything. Unless you don't care about spoilers, then let's go. The main problem with modern Mortal Kombat stories is the character chapters. Whoever you're playing as for the chapter has unbreakable plot armor and wins any fight they get into, which leads to some ridiculous power scaling issues. You have Empress Tanya, who's threatened by Titan Havoc, defeating Noob, who is the one to defeat Havoc at the end of the game. I just try to ignore the power scaling aspect of it because this is a constant issue across NetherRealm Studios stories. Ditching the character chapters would be beneficial overall. Just write a good story and have us play as the corresponding characters when it's time to fight. I don't need to play as Sub-Zero 5 times in a row every story. Mortal Kombat 1's story was a fresh take on the franchise, and for the most part, I enjoyed the story. It wasn't fantastic, but it wasn't horrible either. Lots of new changes like seeing Baraka and Reptile as good guys, Raiden as the Earthrealm champion, and Liu Kang as the god. Lots of things like that. Regardless, the ending jumps into a multiversal battle and honestly felt a bit rushed and underwhelming. Khaos Reigns unfortunately suffers from the same fate. Havoc was this threatening force throughout the entire story expansion. Everyone was shitting their pants when he first appeared, threatening to merge the realms and wreak chaos across them all. Havoc kicks Liu Kang's ass, kidnaps Geras, and even successfully powers up the kamidogu, only for him to get his ass handed to him by Noob easily at the end of the game, and he was killed in the most anticlimactic way possible. We see that Havoc can survive without his limbs. He was immortal in the old timeline, and judging by his feats in the story, it's safe to assume he's immortal again, or damn near close. Noob just rips off his limbs a few times and leaves him in a bloody pulp after Liu Kang stops him from finishing Havoc off. That's it. We didn't see Havoc again after that, and it felt inconclusive at best. We got a 5-minute cutscene of Sector and Tanya talking to a dragon, but a rushed, garbage-ass ending that really fell flat. Which is a shame. The story wasn't perfect, but for the most part, I was enjoying it, until that ending. I mentioned the kamidogu and how disappointing that turned out to be. Honestly, they shouldn't have been involved in the story at all. The kamidogu seems like a full story mode threat, not something to be shoehorned into a 2-hour DLC. Even after being infused with the kamidogu, Havoc didn't seem to get any stronger, and they were just a useless plot device as he was easily defeated like I mentioned, which heavily downplays the kamidogu. It almost seems like the kamidogu made Havoc weaker because of this poor writing. Cyrax and Sector were still pretty true to their characters, with Cyrax being deceived by Sector and struggling with her humanity, and Sector still being the arrogant, manipulative character as always. Her main difference this time around is she actually cares about someone other than herself, with Bihan. I'm still bummed they ditched the Cyber Initiative plotline, but overall, I was pleasantly surprised that these characters stayed mostly true to their original counterparts. Sector did not need to be Bihan's love interest though. That's what Serena is for.
Bihan's future bestie?
Another bummer is NRS missing the opportunity to have the original, male, cyborg versions of Sector and Cyrax appear as Chaos variants in the story. Noob Saibot had some pretty big changes to his character too, but was still all around the same badass we know and love. Instead of being reborn after death through Quan Chi's magic, Sub-Zero was kidnapped by Titan Havoc and infused with Chaos magic, undergoing the transformation into Noob. So, instead of being undead, he's now corrupted. Chaos energy also means Noob's attacks are green now instead of his usual purple. What a horrible introduction for his character though. Noob first appears at the end of Empress Tanya's chapter and gets introduced with an absolute ass-whooping from Tanya. Reminds me of when NRS killed Kotal Khan off in his own MK11 reveal trailer. Why not introduce Noob at the start of his chapter, which took place directly after this fight? Especially since he's powerful enough to destroy Titan Havoc, he should have shown up and kicked everyone's ass. It would have made more sense if Liu Kang had to intervene and cure his corrupted mind instead of the Odd Squad defeating Noob and bringing him to Liu Kang. Even though Liu Kang cures his corrupted mind, this is still Bi-Han after all, who was already problematic before his transformation. He lets his ego get the better of him, and that's why he ends up defeating Havoc and ignoring Liu Kang's orders. Then Liu Kang locks him in a casket to let his body heal, aka so we can have Sub-Zero again in the next game. It was cool seeing Noob again, but his inclusion felt very rushed, cheap, and honestly, unnecessary. Some other issues I have with the story expansion are: Geras being a damsel in distress makes no sense. Havoc kidnaps him early at the start to harvest his power in an attempt to access all of the timelines. It's just lame that such a powerful character, the Guardian of the Hourglass, is captured and subdued so easily and has to be rescued by humans. Empress Tanya and Emperor Reigns' storyline was fun, but it also took up a bulk of the time and just felt unnecessary. And honestly, I enjoyed these variants more than our main timeline versions of Reign and Tanya, but it's hard to connect with any variants when it's unlikely they'll return in the future. Just some new skins for Tanya and Reign, really. I don't know why they have dedicated chapters in the DLC. I think it should have been the other DLC fighters like Quan Chi and Ermac, or even Takeda. We don't see any of our main timeline Takeda in the story of MK1, which is dumb. I don't get it. Most characters were absent or just outright ignored. No Baraka, General Shao, or Shang Tsung, for example. Ashra, Reptile, and Smoke were in the game, but barely had a role outside of fighting random characters in the background of big action scenes. Sure, we saw Chaos variants of them, but no further development on our main timeline versions of the characters, which is disappointing. Overall, the multiverse crap just removes all stakes and waters down the connection players have with these characters. You never really care who lives or dies because there's a million variants to take their place. None of the enemies have any unique traits anymore, it's always just a different timeline version of someone on the roster. It makes for a cheap, gimmicky story, and I think NRS is leaning too heavily into the MCU, with the multiverse crap, Iron Man, Sector, and Cyrax, and hell, even the Kamidogu reminded me of the Infinity Stones, the way they were presented in this story. I will say, out of all the variants, World War II Johnny was the best part of this story. He was hilarious, and seeing a more humble version of Johnny was refreshing. He even references Sonya Blade. Compared to Mortal Kombat 11's story expansion, Aftermath, Khaos Reigns felt like a nothing burger. Aftermath felt like a true ending for MK11 and flowed nicely from the end of the main game. It even had 2 different endings and had more replay value. Khaos Reigns feels completely disconnected from the main game. Honestly, it feels more like a fully fleshed out invasion season with cutscenes and voice acting. It definitely didn't feel worthy of $60, and the pre-order costumes you get were in the premium shop day one. Big shocker. The new characters are fun to play, and the story, even with its issues, was entertaining. The Khaos Reigns update has added some awesome new features like Towers of Time, and even given all characters new unlockable brutalities. There's new stages, and Animalities too. The Khaos Reigns free update is better than the paid one, in my opinion. I just thought I'd give an honest review now that it's been out for a few days. What did you think of the new Khaos Reigns expansion? Let me know. Thanks for watching, guys. As always, this has been Nickfamous. See you later.